Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another one of our Ivey MBA Admissions Series podcasts. I'm Lindsay Littman. I'm Director of the full-time MBA Recruitment and Admissions team. Happy to dive into a very hot topic, and it's a underrated component, which is references.
Yeah, absolutely. We are asked a lot about references and how to approach writing a reference. And so this podcast, we feel, will be very beneficial for both the referee as well as the applicant. So there's advice for both of you here. And so when we're looking at the reference, this is where we're going to provide some detail around what we actually would love to hear from you and really how to approach, the referee form and make the most of it for the applicant.
Right. So we've kind of broken down a few different segments to help the listener, whether you're an applicant or a referee. And a big thank you to the referees who are listening. It is a really pivotal role you play in helping identify the characteristics of the applicant, especially at Ivey. Fit is so important with our small-knit community environment that the soft skills really do tell us more of the story and help us assess for fit more than just a resume. So one of the first areas of references we're always asked about from applicants is around, well, who do I pick? And should it be a senior VP? Is it the CEO? There's also some sensitivities around maybe you haven't had that topic or that conversation yet with your employer that you would be leaving them to go to an MBA. So you can't use your current supervisor, then there's worry that might impact your file negatively.
Yeah, and we will talk about that as well. There is room for that, and we do know that is kind of a sensitive subject for some who haven't broached the topic. But when we're talking about referees themselves and really who to approach moving forward to speak on your behalf, we're thinking about those that know you well, who have seen you in action. Preferably, they've known you for more than 6 months. And so they have a depth of understanding in terms of the work that you provide, how you collaborate with others, the impact that you've had within the team as well. So that's what we're getting at.
Right.
We're not so much, like you mentioned, looking at the VP. Right. They likely don't know you on a day-to-day basis. And if they do, then wow,
Well, great, use them.
Great, use them. But but for the average applicant, no.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I think, it's more about, have they seen you in challenging times? Have they seen you flourish, going above and beyond? And to your point, the duration is important. So minimum 6 months. So, and in general, too, I think on this note, really full-time work only. We're not looking for internship references. There could be an opportunity for like a community, a volunteer work, a reference, like maybe, again, you're on a board or you're very active in association. And for maybe years, again, that someone as a third reference, that could be another character of it. But for professional experiences, we definitely need to no academic and no internship.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're asked that a lot. But you know what? I'm great friends with my professor, and he helped me on my thesis. Great, but it's a different focus. It's a different relationship to the work. It's independent work as well, typically not collaborative, and maybe that they could speak very well on your behalf. It's in a different scope.
For sure.
Okay, so keeping that in mind, it's not going to add the most value to the process.
And this is the sell of you. Like you want to make it so obvious to us that we should admit you and that you're a fit for Ivey. So help us help you, right? Like, if you select your references well, this helps Aimee or I advocate for you. And so giving, your reference the understanding of what we're looking to hear from them, which we're going to get into, that will really help set you up for success. We are seeing more entrepreneurs come into our program. Or they work for a family business. And this can be tricky with references. If you're an entrepreneur and you own your own company, if you're a co-founder, maybe your fellow co-founder would be a great reference, or clients or even colleagues at that level. Family business, let's hope your family would give you a strong reference, which means, we really can't have a blood-related relative as a referee. So then you have to go broader than that and just find, again, we've touched on the work piece, right? Exactly. The ins and outs.
Totally fine to do that. And like Lindsay said, we're seeing more and more of it. Entrepreneurship is pretty hot right now. Yeah. So, so obviously a close colleague or client,
Right.
absolutely acceptable.
Another thing we're asked about a lot, Aimee, is around timing. And this is a little bit, we try to be flexible as much as possible with admissions. And so I think sometimes when we offer flexibility, it's confusing of, well, when do I actually need the references submitted by? There's not a hard date per se. And this is where Aimee and I will work with you and give you more clarity, but at an overview of things. Within the application, it's the online form that the applicants will email to each referee. That has to be in the sent status in order for an applicant to apply. That's absolute. Now, when that form comes back, there's some time allowance. Ideally, we like it around the 2-week mark following submission because that's normally when your admissions interview takes place. That then Aimee and I will get your complete file with the interview notes and your references. We can then dive deep into the file, present your candidacy within 1 to 2 weeks, typically. But if your references come in several days later, that's fine. It just might mean we hold your review until those references come through. So on the, website and our application, it says ideally around the 2-week mark, but it's really a gray area of just to have you as a benchmark. I mean, I know it's confusing because it's flexible. But
It's flexible, but also in the best interest of the process, we would love to have it move forward at an efficient pace. And so we always say, 2 weeks after the application, we try to have the interview in place. And at that point, we hope the references are complete as well. It just gives us a well-rounded picture of the applicant. But if there are issues, of course, you reach out to Lindsay or myself. In some cases, we have experienced firewall issues with certain organizations. And there is a piece on the form itself. And so just be aware of that when completing the references, that certain company organizations have firewalls in place. So it's just kind of, something to put an asterisk beside. And so actually personal emails are preferred. And I know sometimes we get questions around that, but for this instance, it's a better option just because there aren't any complications there.
A good backup as well is there is a PDF version. Yes. So, after you sent the form to your referees as a sort of maybe best practice or a good habit to get in as an applicant, touch base with them. Ask them, did you get the email? Check your spam, check your junk. If you didn't get it, let me know and I'll send you the form. Because what we find is a bit of a bottleneck is after the time of the interview, we see, oh, okay, Jane Doe has no references received. So we do a little friendly nudge and follow up. And it's like, oh, well, my references said they never got it. Well, this would have been great if you had known that 2 weeks earlier because you could have given that time and now they're going to feel rushed. Yeah. Are they going to be as thoughtful with the reference? So I think that's just a good habit to get into is touch base. Yeah. You have access to the PDF, so you can download it, even send it to them ahead of time and say, listen, I emailed you the form. Here's also the PDF version. Choose whatever one, A, you receive, and B, that you're comfortable with. Both are the exact same, just different formats.
Right. I think that's a great practice to get into. And we do try to remind the applicants to follow this process. And I guess in some ways we expect it, but everyone's busy sometimes and things fall off the radar. But, it's in your best interest as the applicant because that way it's moving along. The referees are kind of following the process as it should be as well. And things will move along in a timely manner, which cross our fingers will happen for you. So, so I mean, that's just a little bit of advice in that respect. But I think what we want to get into now is the nitty gritty, if you will, of the form and really how to approach it. And this is really beneficial for the referee if you're tuning in, as well as the applicant themselves. But really, we're going to get into the heart of what is really what this is about. And so thinking about what you will be asked. And so this will help the applicant, you, to prepare the referee. Right. So really, it's a survey of sorts. There are some certain rating questions that we ask pertain to being an MBA candidate. Right. Okay, so these are very much kind of targeted towards the program itself, but looking at broader areas of the applicant And so looking at leadership aspects, looking at soft skill aspects, also looking at areas of development. We want the full rounded picture.
Right. So to map it out, I guess, just for clarity, like you touched on the rating scales, right? And that's where you have like things like humility, courage, judgment. And that just gives us a sense of things. I think the rating is like poor to excellent, right? So it's pretty straightforward. Then to your point, the soft skills, so interpersonal skills, leadership, strengths, development are free-form text boxes. Yeah. And that's where we love it when referees can spend a little bit of time, and we'll give some examples of what we're looking for. But that's to your point, it's a form filled that way. It's not a cutoff. We're not looking for essays, but we'd like more than 5 words, right? And so this is where it's great to coach your referee, and then we're also happy to give the advice now for them because it helps us predict your success as a classmate. You know, working and partnering with the career management team, with your career goals, like all these skills of, are you accountable? Are you coachable? Are you adaptable? Are you a good classmate? All these come through in these sort of more than just interpersonal skills, right? Like, tell us more and then help get you the offer. Let's maybe share some examples with them to kind of give an idea of what is a better indicator than not.
Yeah. And so Lindsay and I work very closely with the applications. We're in them every day, and
we dream about them.
We dream about them. Yeah. And so we have a pretty large repository, as we say, about answers and what we've seen, what we like to see, what we don't like to see. And so really what we're covering here is kind of best practice moving forward. And so advice that we would like to offer you to extend to your referee. If the referee is watching, great, then you can hear firsthand. But, sometimes what we're seeing is very vague, vague information about the applicant. And so I would say we know that maybe they are smart. They can work well with others. Right. We see that on just kind of like upfront on the basis of them being an applicant. We've spoken with them, progression, experience, but we know they graduated at the top of their class or whatever it might be. So we know they can do the work and we know that they're friendly. But what, in addition to that, do they bring to your work environment? How are they as a leader? What is the impact they have on others? Do they work well with others? How do they work through change? Also, there's so many different aspects to that. But if we were to provide an example, I think, from A to B, and you can point out the differences. So one reference will say, Lindsay works well with others. And this is actually a reference.
We're not exaggerating. Yeah, these are.
That we've had. So compared to Lindsay builds trust quickly with cross-functional teams and builds calm energy to tense discussions. She has natural ability to read the room and adjust her approach to get buy-in. So what is that telling us?
It shows us emotional intelligence, communication skills, leadership, like all in one. So don't take the word leadership or interpersonal skills as a literal in the sense of only take that, I guess, unpack that further and tell us a little bit more about that. It's always just interesting when we see them come through and it's, or they'll say with the development area, there's no weaknesses for this applicant. I've seen that way too many times. And listen, you're coming back for the MBA and the applicant's coming back for their MBA to improve themselves. You cannot tell me there is not a development area of this applicant. And so then it tells me, do they not really care? Are they rushed? Do they not really know the applicant? So that's not good.
Yeah, right? And I think it's important to point out that it's not a negative that you complete that. It's expected that will be completed because we all have development areas. You're doing the program like Lindsay said, because you're looking to develop certain areas. But I mean, I think that there is a way to approach that answer and, back it up with some positives as well. Sure. And so it could be more around, so-and-so takes on too much work, but has received feedback, and she is, attempting and making, advancements to correct. Right. Or, it's also the awareness piece that
goes a long way, that
the
self-awareness.
candidate- It really does.
Yeah.
And so that is a great way to position it, I would say. There's a development area, but there's also awareness on the side of the candidate.
And a plan. Like you said, maybe they've been working away at it. Maybe they're going to continue. Maybe the MBA will help them in that area. It could be things like this individual, is early on in their career, so they'll need more leadership experience, more exposure. Hence the MBA, right? So these are some great actually examples for development areas that I would like to see more of as we go through it. So these are, I think, great tidbits for the applicant to share with the referee, and of course, the referee can take from this as well. But we're going to specifically now address actual advice for the referees who are hopefully listening today. Again, thank you to agreeing. It is really a significant part. I'd say one of the more significant parts of our assessment is on the feedback from referees. So helping us understand them beyond their credentials and their academic success.
Yeah. And so I think being a referee, like Lindsay said, you're adding a huge value to the application process. And so what we're wanting is really the value beyond the resume. And so being able to speak to stories within the essay. So adding the context that maybe is missing from the resume that isn't always captured. And we know and we value this. Many of our candidates don't like to self-promote, right? And it's a good thing. It does show humility, which is great. But at the same time, we would like to hear from you to add that additional context, that value. And it could be in the way of an example where now I would say we don't need 10 examples.
No. Right.
Okay. So there's a balance there. But, one significant example to really outline the benefit, the value, the impact that the candidate has brought to the organization or to the role, whatever it might be. So, yes, we would like to see a little bit more information there, if you will.
And if you don't have an exact example, because then you think, okay, think of like if you summarize the candidate, right? To say, Aimee is someone that I can always rely upon. She's great with her team members. She's a very inclusive, leadership style. She wants to make sure everyone's opinions are heard. I've never had feedback from her team that she, bulldozes the conversation. So you can generalize it that way, but it's telling us a lot more of your style, especially tying in the human factor, because you can be really strong on paper. But what do you really like with your peers? Are you cutthroat? Are you going to put them down? So with referees can speak to us more about, they're they're intelligent, they're ambitious, but they're very inclusive and helpful of their peers. That helps us, again, going back to predicting the success in the classroom, et cetera, that helps gives us that assurance that we feel in our small knit program that's highly collaborative, highly team-based, that you will thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. So all in all, we're looking at honesty here, and we're looking for balanced feedback. And so we're looking, yes, for the strengths, but also the areas of development, and then the overall kind of personal makeup, if you will, character.
So I think we captured a lot of content and advice here, a bit more in depth. I know we have a shorter podcast on quick tips for references, but this one allowed us to dive a little bit deeper and also target it for referees. But so I think a few takeaways for the applicants, talk to your referees in advance. Make sure they understand why you're pursuing the MBA. Even explain the form to them so they have an idea about it. Watch the timeline. So if you start an application, the first thing we always advise that you do is talk to your referees and then send out the form. And as a best practice, we're suggesting send the follow-up, making sure they got it, send the PDF as a backup for them. You will get an email notification once both are received. So do keep that in mind. But time does play a role. You definitely don't want your references rushed.
No, absolutely not. And just one quick thing to say to our referees listening right now, it's really, it's not an evaluation of you, the referee. And so keep that in mind. We're not looking for perfection in your answers. Right. We're really looking for authenticity and honesty. And so thinking in those lines and really what resonates with you and what you want to point out when you bring the application forward.
Yeah, it's about helping us see the person behind the application, right? They're more than an application number. So hopefully this was helpful to both the applicant and the referee. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Aimee or myself.